Start with name of Allah. My beloved brother and sister, start your morning with a reminder that was sent from the heavens. A verse that holds the light capable of softening even the heaviest heart. There's something profoundly beautiful about beginning your day not with noise, not with the world's chaos, but with the calm whisper of Allah's words. Surah Yaseen isn't just a recitation. It's a conversation between your soul and its creator. A gentle call back to purpose, peace, and clarity. Every sunrise brings new mercy, every breath another chance. And in this verse lies the key to seeing your morning not as routine, but as renewal. Today, let your soul wake up before your body does. When you begin your morning with this verse from Surah Yaseen, indeed, we give life to the dead, and we record what they have sent forth and what they left behind. You are reminded that Allah's awareness of you is not limited to what the world can see. It is not only your visible deeds that are recorded, it is also your quiet endurance, your hidden intentions, your secret patience, and every silent moment when your heart turned toward Him, even when your lips could not form the words. The verse reaches deep into the unseen parts of your life, the spaces where no human eye has looked in, and it assures you that those spaces are not forgotten by the divine. Allah is not only the witness of what you do, He is the knower of why you do it. Every act that begins and ends with sincerity lives forever in His record. Think of how this changes the way you see your day. You may wake up to the same responsibilities, the same people, the same routines. And yet this verse transforms those ordinary moments into sacred ones. When you cook for your family out of love, when you work with honesty though no one praises you, when you forgive someone who will never apologize, each of these actions becomes an offering written by angels who never miss a detail. You might think that your prayer went unnoticed, that your efforts were wasted, that your goodness faded into silence. But Allah says otherwise. He says that nothing you've done is ever lost. He has recorded what you've sent forth and what you've left behind. The world counts success by visibility, by applause, recognition, or outcomes. But this verse teaches a different measure. It says that the unseen is greater than the seen. The quiet moments of sincerity weigh more heavily on the scale than the loud displays of righteousness. The tear shed in secret is more precious than a speech about faith. Allah's record is not like the world's record. It is written not only by hands but by hearts. He records what you tried to do, even when you failed. He records the intention that never found expression, the longing that led you closer to Him, in the patience you held when breaking felt easier. He records even the moments when you restrained yourself from sin for His sake, unseen by anyone else. And the verse continues, and what they left behind. This is perhaps the most humbling reminder of all, that every life leaves a trail. Every word you speak, every action you take, every example you set, it continues beyond you. You may think something ended when you stopped doing it, but its echo lives on in the lives it touched. The kindness you showed once may inspire someone years later. The dua you made for someone may become the unseen reason for their peace. In the charity you gave may keep feeding hearts long after you are gone. You are leaving traces every day in, and this verse calls you to become mindful of what kind of traces those are. When you start your morning with this awareness, your entire mindset shifts. You no longer seek meaning through people's acknowledgement. You stop measuring your worth by how many people see you and start measuring it by how many moments are written sincerely before Allah. You stop chasing validation and you start chasing truth. You begin to see that it is not the size of the act that matters, but the heart behind it. A smile can outweigh a sermon if done for His sake. A whisper of repentance can echo louder in eternity than a mountain of good deeds done for attention. So, when you whisper this verse at dawn, remember nothing in your life is wasted. The struggle that no one knows about is known by the one who counts every heartbeat. The quiet patience you hold through tears is written with honor. In the dua you make that seems unanswered is still written and preserved, waiting for its appointed time. This awareness softens your heart and makes you gentle with your day. You begin to see meaning even in hardship, purpose even in silence, value even in waiting. Because when Allah records, He records with mercy. His writing is not cold or distant. It is filled with compassion. He does not record only the deed, but the exhaustion that came with it, the tears shed in effort, the sincerity that drove you to act. He records your attempts even when you fall short. That is why the believer can rise every morning with hope, knowing that even if the world forgets their goodness, the Lord of the worlds never does. To live with this verse in your heart is to live with sacred consciousness. It means knowing that every step, every word, in every heartbeat can be part of your eternal story. It means living in awareness that your moments are being written by the most merciful, who will one day read them back to you, not to shame you, but to show you how beautifully even your smallest acts of faith were preserved. And when that day comes, you will see how the things you thought were forgotten were actually the things that mattered most. When you begin your morning from this verse in Surah Yaseen, indeed, we give life to the dead and we record what they have sent forth and what they left behind. You are not only reciting a verse, you are building a shield around your heart, because this verse teaches something profoundly protective. Remembrance guards you from forgetfulness. And forgetfulness, in the spiritual sense, is not about losing memory. It's about losing meaning. It's when you begin to live without awareness of who you are and who you belong to. This verse pulls you back into consciousness. It roots your heart again in the awareness that life is sacred, that every breath is a record, that every morning is an entrusted gift. When your morning starts with remembrance, your heart doesn't drift into heedlessness. You move through your day not asleep to your purpose, but awake to your Creator. There is something about mornings that shapes the entire day. The first moments after you wake up are like fresh soil. Whatever you plant there grows throughout your hours. If you plant anxiety, you reap worry. If you plant distraction, you reap emptiness. But if you plant remembrance, you reap peace. This verse, when spoken in those early quiet minutes, becomes like spiritual armor. It reminds you that your time is being written, and your actions are being seen, your efforts are being counted. It shields you from the illusion that your life is meaningless. You stop living reactively and begin living intentionally. You stop chasing what fades and start walking toward what remains. This verse is not meant to weigh you down with fear. It is meant to lift you up with awareness. Because when you know your life has divine significance, even small acts become sacred. You realize that your smile to someone struggling, your gentle word in a heated moment, your decision to forgive instead of retaliate, all of it is recorded. You stop underestimating the beauty of small goodness. You stop wasting your mornings scrolling through comparison and start filling them with gratitude. You stop measuring your day by how much you achieved in the world and start measuring it by how close you stayed to Allah. It's easy to live distracted. The noise of the world is loud. It tells you to hurry, to want more, to do more. But this verse calls you to slow down and remember. To remember that nothing will follow you to the grave except what you sent forth. To remember that what you leave behind will speak of you long after your name fades. It teaches the heart to prioritize what is eternal over what is temporary. When you start your morning with this verse, you begin the day with that perspective clear and shining before you. You remember that each decision you make is a seed in eternity. This awareness becomes a shield because it changes your reactions. When people anger you, you remember your record is being written, so you choose patience. When temptation comes, you remember the one watching, so you choose restraint. When hardship strikes, you remember that even endurance is being counted, so you choose trust. This verse builds a quiet dignity inside you, a calm confidence that you are seen, guided, and protected. It reminds you that Allah is not just recording your deeds, but also your pain, your effort, your struggle to stay sincere. That nothing is wasted in His sight. There is a deep peace that comes when you live like this. You begin to see every moment as a conversation between you and Allah. The way you speak, the way you walk, the way you treat others, all of it becomes part of that silent dialogue. When you wake up and recite this verse, you are in essence saying, I remember, Ya Allah. I remember that I am yours. And remembrance like that keeps the heart alive. It keeps you anchored even when the world pulls you in every direction. The verse also protects you from despair. Sometimes the heart feels lifeless, burdened by sin, drowned in guilt, exhausted by disappointment. But this verse reminds you, the one who gives life to the dead can give life to you too. You are never too far gone to return. No matter how heavy yesterday was, this morning can still be the start of your return. That is the shield this verse gives. Not only protection from forgetfulness, but from hopelessness. Because forgetfulness makes you drift away from Allah, and hopelessness makes you believe you can't come back. This verse destroys both illusions. It tells you you are still seen, still written, still loved. And when you carry that truth into your day, your heart walks lighter. You stop fearing people's opinions. You stop needing to prove your worth. You remember that your worth was written by the one who created you before anyone else ever named you. So you guard your peace. You guard your purpose. You guard your soul with remembrance. You start your morning from this verse, and by the end of the day, you find that it has carried you through, calm, conscious, and close to Allah. You realize that faith was never meant to be confined to the moments of worship alone. It was meant to infuse every ordinary act with divine meaning. This verse transforms the way you wake, the way you walk, the way you speak. It turns the quiet hours of dawn into moments of awakening, not only for your body, but for your soul. Every morning, the world rises from darkness into light, and this verse reminds you that your heart can do the same. The one who starts their day with remembrance begins to live differently. Every task becomes worship. Every action becomes a bridge toward eternity. This verse teaches you that there is no such thing as a meaningless day when Allah is your witness. You no longer see your life as a string of random hours, but as a woven pattern of purpose. The simple act of greeting your loved ones with kindness becomes a prayer. The patience you hold in traffic becomes an act of faith. Even the moments you spend alone, thinking, reflecting, breathing, become part of your spiritual journey. This is what it means to begin your morning with this verse, to turn routine into remembrance. It's to walk through your day with a quiet awareness that the angels are still writing, that every heartbeat still echoes in eternity. You see, the world tries to convince you that only big things matter, titles, wealth, recognition. But this verse whispers a different truth. It says that in Allah's eyes, it is not the size of the deed that matters, but the sincerity of the heart. A simple act done with love for His sake can outweigh 1,000 grand gestures done for attention. When you start your morning from this verse, You learn to live gently but intentionally. You stop seeking validation from people and start seeking the smile of your Creator. You stop waiting for miracles outside and start recognizing the miracle of being alive, of having another chance to do good, to forgive, to love, to return. This verse also transforms how you see your struggles. It teaches that even your pain is not wasted. Every difficulty you endure with patience becomes a line in your record of faith. Every tear that falls unseen by people is seen by the one who records without error. When you start your day with this verse, you are reminded that even hardship has meaning. The believer's life is never empty, because even in silence, even in suffering, something sacred is being written. That awareness changes everything. You stop resenting your challenges and start seeing them as opportunities to grow closer to the one who revives hearts. To begin your morning with this verse is to choose consciousness over chaos. It's to stand in the quiet of dawn and remember that your time is limited, but your impact can be eternal. It's to live with the knowledge that your smallest acts of goodness can become light in someone else's darkness. It's to realize that how you live each day is how you build your hereafter. You begin to move through the hours not with haste, but with heart. You understand that what you send forth today will meet you again when the records are opened. And what you leave behind, your influence, your kindness, your legacy, will continue to speak on your behalf. When this truth settles in your heart, every moment becomes precious. You begin to pray with more focus, to speak with more care, to give with more humility. You start treating people not as interruptions, but as trusts. You begin to forgive quickly, to let go of grudges, to find beauty even in the simplest parts of your day. Because you know that everything is being recorded and that every small act has the potential to please the one who knows you best. The coffee you make for someone, the smile you give to a stranger, the words you hold back out of kindness. All of these become your morning offerings, your quiet worship woven into the fabric of daily life. And as the day unfolds, you realize that the verse is not only a statement, it is an invitation to live awake, to see your surroundings not as random, but as purposeful. To see your breath as a sign of mercy, your routine as a place of remembrance, and your work as an act of worship. When you start your morning with this verse, you no longer divide your life into spiritual and ordinary. Everything becomes spiritual. Every act becomes sacred when done with awareness of Allah. By the time night comes and you look back on your day, you find peace in knowing that nothing was wasted. The effort you gave, the patience you practiced, the good you tried to do, all of it is written. The verse you started with in the morning has shaped your hours into worship, your routine into remembrance, your struggles into records of faith. And that is the quiet miracle of beginning your morning from this verse of Surah Yaseen. It transforms every breath into a testimony of meaning, every moment into a step closer to Allah. You are reminded that this verse is not only a record of what was, but a promise of what can be. It is not just a statement of divine observation. It is a declaration of revival. Allah is telling you that He can bring back to life what you thought was lost, that He can restore what you thought could never return, that even the ashes of your past can bloom again by His command. This verse becomes the morning call of hope, the reminder that no heart is too broken, no soul too far gone, no dream too buried for the one who revives the dead. So when you start your day with this verse, you are whispering to your own soul, rise again. You are reminding yourself that Allah's mercy is larger than your mistakes, that His forgiveness runs deeper than your shame, that His power reaches beyond your weakness. You may have woken up with the heaviness of regret, carrying the weight of things you wish you could undo. But this verse tells you that Allah is not finished with you yet. The same Lord who revives lifeless earth with rain can revive your heart with his remembrance. The same one who brings color to a barren desert can bring joy back to a weary soul. This verse teaches that resurrection is not just something that will happen at the end of time. It is something that can happen within you today. Every time you turn back to Allah, every time you seek his forgiveness, every time you rise from sin into sincerity, that is resurrection. Every time you fall into despair and remember his promise, that is resurrection. Every time you break and then rebuild your connection with him, that is resurrection. This verse is not only about the dead who will rise from graves. It's about the living who will rise from their hopelessness. It's about hearts that beat again after years of silence. It's about souls that learn to pray again, to hope again, to love Allah again. And perhaps that is why it's such a powerful verse to begin your morning with, because mornings are symbols of rebirth. The darkness fades and light returns. You wake up from the stillness of sleep, a small death, and you begin anew. It's as if Allah is reminding you with every sunrise that he can turn endings into beginnings. That he can take your failures and make them lessons, your wounds and make them wisdom, your losses and make them mercy. When you start your morning with this verse, you choose to walk through your day with resurrection in your heart. You stop seeing your past as a prison and start seeing it as proof of Allah's mercy. That you are still here, still breathing, still given another chance to rise. And that's the beauty of this verse. It doesn't just speak of what Allah records but what he revives. The recording is perfect, but it is not merciless. It is filled with his compassion. When he records, he does so with understanding. He knows your struggles, your unseen battles, your nights of tears, your efforts to keep going even when faith feels fragile. And then, with that same divine tenderness, he gives life again. He breathes hope where there was exhaustion, forgiveness where there was failure, peace where there was fear. To start your morning from this verse is to open your heart to that miracle. To tell Allah, revive me too. When you let this verse sink into your heart, your perspective on life begins to shift. You no longer see pain as punishment. You start to see it as transformation. You realize that Allah sometimes allows parts of you to break, not to destroy you, but to make space for something greater to grow. He revives not only the dead, but the parts of your soul that have been sleeping. Your faith, your gratitude, your ability to love him with sincerity. This verse becomes your reminder that renewal is always possible, no matter how late it feels. So, when the world feels heavy, when you look at your life and see only ruins, begin again from this verse. When you feel unworthy, remember the one who gives life to the dead can make you worthy again. When you think your best days are behind you, remember, the same Lord who brings spring to dead trees can bring meaning back to your existence. This verse carries the voice of divine mercy. It says, you are not finished. Your story can still bloom. Every morning, when the sun rises, the earth bears witness to this truth. Flowers open again, rivers flow again, light fills the sky again, and your heart too can awaken again. This verse is a divine whisper that life is never too far gone for Allah to restore. And when you begin your morning from it, you carry that light into your day, a quiet, unshakable belief that no matter what you've lost, the one who revives the dead can bring it back in ways more beautiful than before.